Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar, Increased R.M.R and Happier Customers, the Benefits of Hosted Solutions. Today we have with us Doug Rosen, Director of Business Development for UMBO. Doug has been with UMBO since 2015, and for the past 2 years he's been an evangelist for the future of computer vision and artificial intelligence in the security industry. Few people have as much experience bridging the technical and communications divide between the security industry and today's cutting-edge artificial intelligence technologies. A new generation of hosted solutions is starting to overturn the video security tech landscape. New platforms natively built on top of burgeoning cloud technologies are creating unprecedented ease of use, anywhere, anytime access, and revolutionary video analytics. Growing cloud acceptance by even the biggest clients presents a once-in-a-generation opportunity for platforms and partners prepared to take advantage of them. Today, you're going to learn about what can be made possible by these new hosted solutions. Tap into the cash flow potential of some of your biggest clients in today's webinar. Today, Doug will be covering topics including next-generation analytics, simplified hosted solutions, intelligent hardware as an investment, and surveillance as a service monetization. My name is Julie Rolls. I am the training specialist with PSA Security Network, and I will be moderating today's call. I have just a few quick housekeeping items before I hand it over to Doug Rosen. First, if you have not already done so, please mute yourself. If you happen to have any questions throughout the course of this presentation, please type them into the question panel, and we will have time for Q&A at the end of this presentation. Additionally, if you run into any technical difficulties, please also type that into the chat, and I'll do my best to get you back up and running should you have any troubles. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Doug.
Julie, thank you so much for the wonderful introduction, and I'd like to actually thank everybody for taking the time from their day to attend this webinar. It means a lot to me, it means a lot to the PSA community. It's very nice of you, and thank you very much. So my aim for today's webinar is to discuss the benefits of well-executed hosted solutions, artificial intelligence that's disrupting analytics, even advanced analytics, and justifying recurring monthly revenue while keeping your customers happy and satisfied. So really, let's kick this off, and hopefully I won't be putting everybody to sleep, even though it's pretty early in the morning. So we've been around for a few years. We're a four-pillar company. We do hardware engineering in-house, we do the software engineering in-house, we do the support in-house, and we do the sales in-house. And the main takeaway from that is that because everything's done by us and from us, there's not many blind spots that come up. When you get the hardware, when you get any of the software, when you use any of our solution, it all feels very cohesive because it all comes from the same place. And on top of that, because everything comes from us, we actually get to win all these really great accolades. So we've been taking home awards from places like the ISC show and CVPR and DARPA and NVIDIA. So just a few months ago, we won Best Video Analytics for 2017. And the nice people at the PSA group recently brought us on as well, which we think is a really huge accomplishment from us. So thank you again for that acknowledgement. So now the meat and potatoes of our presentation. We're going to be talking about cloud hosting, artificial intelligence bringing real value to the intrusion detection and monitoring services, moving away from commoditized products and showing actual value in software, and touching on surveillance as a service. So complexity used to be a huge hurdle to using the cloud. We've completely simplified the process, and with us, it's just cameras and SD cards that go to PoE switches. And when you open a browser or your app, you can use the entire solution. You don't have to install software, you don't have to spec confusing hardware. It's all made very simple. And adding users and cameras is as simple as point and click. You don't have to be an expert or have 15 years experience knowing ins and outs and gotchas. We try to actually simplify and consolidate the entire solution. So the cloud's getting popular. It's huge and getting bigger. More and more organizations rely on the cloud as their backbone infrastructure, and we make its powerful processing power and inexpensive storage available to you. So all things that used to be challenging and sort of scary are made much more simple with this solution. Adoption is powerful, and it's growing and growing in a positive trend. This has already made a huge impact in everybody's lives, and it's actually making a very large impact. So this is the obligatory security slide on the cloud. Every time we talk about the cloud, somebody, and rightly so, asks about, well, how is it more secure? Like, it sounds actually like it's less secure. But whenever people speak about the cloud and its security, I always tell them the story about this small government agency that has 3 letters. I think is the CIA. How they just spent $600 million migrating all their infrastructure onto the cloud, all their storage and everything like that onto the cloud. So they put $500 million in trust into the cloud, and for good reason. Everything's in real time. Security is handled by large consolidated teams. Who meet and exceed industry standards. On top of that, if you think about it, uh, in this sort of parable that no man's an island, that's actually how the security in the cloud really works. The automation, the consolidation, how everything's in real time and fully managed, like that really helps defeat all the problems that are happening on the left, where everything's sort of distributed and not in real time and unmanaged and partially managed between different people with different responsibilities. So security is actually top of mind, especially with people in the cloud. Okay, so the simplicity really speaks for itself in this one when you compare traditional models versus the cloud first models. The on-site devices for the hosted solutions are just the camera and the SD card and the PoE switch that goes out to the internet. The switch doesn't even have to be managed, or it could even be unmanaged. Either one's fine. So you worry less about using risky setups or hardware installation specs, or unexpected costs as you go to expansion. The expansion with these hosted solutions is much simpler and much easier to predict costs with as well. Let's keep moving. Okay, so now the AI portion of our discussion. So the Institute of Police Sciences in the UK claims that most cameras any one person can effectively monitor at one specific time is 12. So that number is even a bit of a question mark when you see other studies that point to one person who's being tested to see if they see people in a video for over a period of 1 hour. They only score around 90% accuracy. So that means they miss around 1/10 of all people who are in that video. So as that hour increases, the number actually drops dramatically. And the long story short is that people are not robots. Like, they don't perform this task of video monitoring particularly well. Compare that to artificial intelligence, which ours scores around 98% accuracy in all time in detecting people. You can start to understand the benefits of using artificial intelligence over the conjunction of just standard software or people, or even the combination of the two. So this is object class detection. This is what's actually considered the cutting edge of artificial intelligence in our industry. You might have heard of it as deep learning, or other synonymous names, but this is really what it looks like. It looks like bounding boxes, but it's slightly more complex. So what happens is it self-identifies the objects, and then it gives it, it also tries to label them as well, so based on the learning algorithm. But unfortunately, it's a bit inaccurate, and it's not truly accurate enough for the security and for the security industry. So as you can see here, this says that it's a person, but actually the majority of this image is a horse's ass. And I know a lot of people where the two can be confusing, so I understand the computer's mistake. So most people like an icebreaker joke at the beginning of the presentation. I like to throw it in the middle to wake people back up. So if you compare that to what we do, you can see that we're much more effective. You see this gentleman who's outlined here. You can see it grabs him. It even ignores the lasso, and it even ignores the sides of the hat over here. This is called pixel up. This is artificial intelligence computer vision with pixel level segmentation. So we use a specific technique that identifies each individual pixel. That way, regardless of the complexity of the scene or the visual noise that's happening here, the humans are detected only. And when you think about that and compare the two, you see that this is much more similar to how we see the world. As humans with our wet brains, like, we don't need a whole person to be in front of us for us to recognize that that's a person. We can see just even like an arm or even like a forehead and a nose and know that that's actually a person. And now our computers have these analog brains, and they can do that too. So you can see like where the benefit is to use this complex model that really no one else offers to recognize people. And this video sort of exemplifies that, so I'll just be clicking onto it. So this is the school in Taipei. On the right-hand side is the school. This is about a 12-foot tall fence. And on the left-hand side is the actual city. So you can see all the visual noise that's happening in the background, and even this bush that's getting constantly blown in the wind. But as soon as this gentleman tries to scale the fence to get into it, he's instantly detected, and at the pixel level also. So it doesn't actually need the entire person to be in the scene. It still grabs them anyway. So if you try to do that with traditional analytics, or try to even think about what it'd be like to get no false alarms off this bush while still picking up somebody before they get into the zone, like you'd see the actual challenge that would face for you. Oops, I'm trying to go forward here. There you go. I have one more video over here as well. So this video also exemplifies that we're actually recognizing people in real time. We're not tracking heat. We're not looking for a size of a person. We're not doing anything. We're not just doing motion or anything like that. Then you'll see how it ignores the dogs, ignores the spider web that's on the scene, and then only looks for the person as soon as they enter that intrusion zone. Okay. So here the dogs enter the intrusion zone, and on the bottom is the timeline, and this magenta marker over the blue timeline is when it actively picks up the person. So the dogs walk by and there's no false alarm. This spider web's going crazy, there's no false alarm. But as soon as this nice woman who's walking her dogs unleashed in the neighborhood walks by, oops, let me pause it, the marker is exactly there. So it's really autonomous without you having to search through the clips. It's really doing the work for you and doing it much more accurately. So it's a whole new perspective of how you do monitoring in real time, because it's bringing only things that you want to know to your attention. Okay. So I was talking about that new approach to security. So we give you this very nice KPI dashboard where you can see all your cameras over time, over periods of over the 24-hour period of the day, over days of the week, over weeks, over different locations and different cameras. So now instead of just having video of what's been happening, somebody's stealing after the fact, you can actually relate that to reality and make impacts on actual security for people. So you can see how many events you're having during the day, what period of the day, what period of the week where you're having the most events, and you can start applying new strategies to actually reduce the crime before it happens. And then on top of that, every time there's an event, it auto-populates this clip for you. So you have everything recorded forever, on the SD card. You have the redundant copy in the cloud. But on top of that, it's actively working to display to you what you want to see. So as these events occur, it automatically fills for you and grabs them for you. So you're not going in and working for it. It's doing a lot of that legwork that you're used to doing, or you have to wait till somebody brings to your attention a month later. It's doing it for you ahead of time, which is really nice. Okay, so this chart is neat. It shows you where all the other solutions fall in this very accurate and empirical scale from hard to easy, and from where you have to search to where it's basically autonomously searched for you. And I know it's the opposite of empirical, but it's really easy to understand in terms of limitations. Motion detection was used because it's really easy, but you have to really search through it because it picks up everything. Rule-based is really hard to set up, and it's really for after the fact as well, but at least it's something to help you a little bit. Shallow learning is moving closer, and so is deep learning is moving closer to the top right, but they're still really not accurate enough to make that happen. And of course, we're in the top right because we have the 98% accuracy. We do drag and drop, and it's really easy to set up, and it's also super accurate. And now for the empirical chart that I think people like a lot better. So if we're remembering the study I talked about earlier, it's one person for every 12 cameras. based on what competitors say about their technology, it's one person for every 35 cameras using the newest stuff that they say is deep learning. And when you look at ours with the 98% accuracy, one person can effectively manage almost 500 cameras, which I think is a really powerful statement and definitely just worth showing in this, this simple chart. Okay, so now we're moving on to the intelligent hardware as an investment. So this is really traditional value versus new value, the complex hardware sale versus intelligent software as a model. So I really like to bring up the sort of analogy as the car that you buy off the dealer's lot. So you just went in and you bought a brand new car and you feel really good, and as soon as you drive it off the lot, it instantly depreciates. And the reason why it instantly depreciates is because the car is never going to improve. The engine that you have in the car is always going to be that engine. You're always going to get the same fuel economy. The interior is always going to be the same. It's only going to get worse. And like people understand that the hardware, commodity hardware, like as soon as you buy it, it's static and it just degrades over time. But the new value with the hosted solution is that it's not the value exactly in the hardware, but the software that can be constantly pushed to it to add more features and values for the customer and end user. So think of that, great new Corvette that you just bought. You drive it off a lot and it instantly depreciates, and it's never going to get an upgrade, and the fuel economy is not going to get better. But when you compare that to the Tesla that rolls off the factory floor, 2 months later they can send you over the air an upgrade to the firmware and completely change how the car performs and improve it over time. And it's the same thing with these cameras that we deal with, because they're all connected and they're all hosted. New features, new everything, new advancements are instantly pushed to the camera, so it's constantly getting new value added to it. And it's not the hardware, it's really the software. So, this is it. This is what goes on site, just the camera and the SD card. I said we make everything, and it even goes down to the SD card. You can have over 3 months of onboard storage with the 512 card. The predictable costs are a part of that hosted solution, and like this new value of software. Before, if you want to install more cameras, you can get caught up in putting new servers to support those new cameras, and then you'd have to get new software to manage all the old cameras and put the new cameras on them and bring them together. So the costs are a bit unpredictable. And then you looked at the other side. You need more stuff. You put more switches and more cameras on, and that really simplifies that. So much more predictable growth and cost. The values in the model, this is a continuation of what I said earlier. So with us, the artificial intelligence is constantly improving. You have the latest and greatest every 60 minutes. It retrains itself. So we have 98% accuracy now, and we won the Best Video Analytics Award, and we hope to continue to keep winning it because we are hoping to do over 99% by the end of 2018. So that's going to be really fantastic for us. And how do we do that? Every day we get more and more images that are processed with people. A few months ago we passed the billion mark, which is really fantastic, and by the end of 2018 we'd like to cross the 80 billion mark. So as more people get together and use the solution, it continues to grow and teach itself and get better. So you're always getting more value, your customer's always getting more value. And it's not just with this people detection. There's all these other great things that artificial intelligence can actually do and do successfully. So occupancy and people counting, two different things. So how many people are in a room, and then also how many people are coming in a threshold. And again, it's not heat or motion or anything like that. It's actually seeing how many people are in the room. Tailgating alarm, very unique situation that used to use a couple different pieces with cards and all card readers and a few different cameras, and then timing of who goes through which threshold, effectively done just using AI. Object recognition, cars and trucks. So it's not size or shape or anything like that. It actually knows what a car or truck is, or bus. So very unique, very cool solutions that get put on without new types of cameras. It's all software driven. So this is the part of the presentation where I hand it over to Adam Deegan, who's been so kind and graciously has been working with us for a little bit now, and he's going to give a little bit of talk about what he thinks about us and our solution. And he's actually an application engineer with Northland Controls. He has over 9 years of diverse experience working with a lot of different video management systems and access control systems. He's an active member of the PSA technical committee and overall very cool guy, where he evaluates new products and technology. and reviews them within the community. So I'm going to stop talking for a little bit. We'll take a break, and I'll hand it over to Adam. And thank you, guys.
Thank you, Doug. I'm happy to be here today. What I like about the Umbo as a company is the pride they have put into their product. It's clearly that they put a lot of thought into it from right out of the box, which is very well packaged, by the way, to the focus on ease of use, overall management, and deployment. They're embracing the cloud structure to eliminate the need for heavy backend infrastructure. A few key features that have really appealed to me were the plug-and-play installation. There's no hassles with servers and maintenance. There's no applications to be installed and no client workstations to set up. From what I can see, the people detection zones are very fast and easy to set up and fit almost all applications. Other video analytics I've worked with, sometimes they set up or take extra time, and in most cases are uniquely catered to a specific environment, which makes it difficult to deploy a large number at any given time. Camera analytics have actually been available for many years now, but one reason that these analytics are not widely used today is mainly due to the implementation takes extra time. There's a high rate of false alarms, and in some cases require an additional server for processing. All of these which add to the cost of implementation. That doesn't seem to merit the work. With Umbo, the setup is very easy and the detection is accurate, and the processing is all done at the camera, which eliminates the need for additional hardware. Something I see as a security integrator daily is there's a lot of effort that goes into providing security within a building. They have glass breaks behind every window, motion sensors, cameras around every corner, and monitored doors throughout, all of which are nice to have after the breach has already been made. With Umbo, I see the technology providing a greater defense to the exterior of the building, utilizing the people detection and notifications to receive alerts before the breach is even made. If these alerts come in prior to the breach, this will vastly increase response time and may even prevent the breach from happening altogether. Some of the other benefits I see with the Umbo application is they filter out all the unnecessary noise from inactive live streaming and provide an easy-to-use event timeline view. This can save an enormous amount of time for both monitoring live video and retrieving video for a specific incident. This also removes the need to watch everything at all times looking for problems. Using analytics with alerts allows the operators to focus on what's really important.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, Adam, I really appreciate that. And is it okay if I move to the next slide?
Yep, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you for your time. That was excellent. There you go. So, I don't want to, that was really nice, and I don't want to drone on forever. And obviously, there's more and more intricacies that we can always talk about, but I'd like to keep it really simple as this is one of my closing outs. So, if you remember only 4 things from this entire webinar, it's that recurring monthly revenue is easily available to you from your customer. You have a lot of places to provide value. The cloud, monitoring, analytics, simplified maintenance, new value features that people have thought about or thought maybe might be in Minority Report but are actually now available to you very easily. That artificial intelligence is disrupting the security industry. So there's less false alarms, autonomous accuracy and preventative security is now readily available to everybody. Online or die, it sounds dramatic, but cloud saves time and money for you and your customers. And surveillance as a service monetization, so more value and less overhead. So if you take only 4 things away from this webinar, it's any of those 4 things, I feel like there's been a lot of success here today. And that was really it. So if you have questions, projects, or lunch, you can call or email us here at any of these numbers, and I'm sure a few people have a couple questions for us, and I'd be happy to start, seeing what those are and trying to answer them the best I can. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for your time and enthusiasm. It's very nice on a Thursday.
So I did have a couple of questions come in here, Doug. First one, how do cloud providers like yourself protect both you and your users' data?
Oh, that's really interesting. I'm not the security engineer, so I really can't go too deep into the depths there. But I do know for a fact that the cloud meets lots of different standards and is actually uh, has to meet those standards, and they brag about it because there's actual competition in the market. So ISO standards. What are a few other ones as well? What is it? So I think PCI and SOC standards. So a lot of these extra certifications are actually dealt with by teams of very smart people that Amazon has hired and continually employs to make sure that they meet these standards. So that's part of the security is always up to date. And on our team, we have a nice gentleman named Kevin Liu, who was in charge. His company was bought and was in charge of migrating all of LinkedIn's own hardware and software into the cloud successfully as the security manager. So that was his job. So we have top of the line people also on our side to make sure that everything that we do is, lockstep with the idea of providing security. On top of that, I think I mentioned that we use AES 256 encryption as well for ours, so for our streams. So not just in the hardware solution itself, but also our company practices, we follow a really tight regimen of security. So I hope that answered it without meandering too much.
Okay, good. Well, thank you. Next question. What differentiates your artificial intelligence from other companies?
Okay, that's interesting. So I think we mentioned before that we actually have the highest performing pixel level segmentation computer vision model in general. So in the AI industry, not just the security industry. So I really like to position us as an artificial intelligence company that's solving security industry problems. And when I say in the AI industry, like people in that space, just to give you an idea, are Tesla, Google, Facebook, lots of these really large Fortune companies that make a big effort to stay in front of this like cutting edge technology. So we had the highest performing model. We still have the highest performing model. We won best video analytics from the ISC show just a few months back, and we've been doing it for the past 4 years. And there's really not any, I really haven't seen much to any competition in the AI field in the security industry. But it's really going to be interesting to see them come into the field and catch up and see how that helps us push forward as more. I'm a strong believer that competition, really benefits everybody, the companies and the people and the products. The more people involved, the more hard everybody has to work to bring a real value to the table. So I'm excited for that.
Fantastic. Okay, I have one more question. How long does it take to get techs trained with the AI, and what's the learning curve look like?
Yeah, so that's actually really easy. We have a dedicated training staff headed by Alex Lewis. He was one of Dropbox's first employee, I think first 50 employees. He helped grow their entire support team, and he's a really overall excellent guy and great at explaining and training. And I would say it takes just around 1 to 3 hours from our training staff, which is complimentary and actually encouraged. And it's just most people it's 1 hour to become an UMBO expert in terms of setting up the AI. Usually I'd say much less, but Alex always says at least give me 1 hour with them.
Very
so
cool.
that's about that in terms of training.
Great. Well, that does look like that's all the questions that we have for today.
Oh, okay.
So if anyone would like to review this presentation again, or you would like to pass it along, we will have a recorded version of it posted very soon. You can find it by visiting psasecurity.com. Thank you very much to Doug Rosen. UMBO's contact information is posted here for questions after today's presentation. Visit our website, that's psasecurity.com, to be sure that you are leveraging all that PSA Security Network has to offer. On our homepage, you can access our future webinar events, this recording, educational offerings, and business solutions. This will conclude today's presentation. Thanks again, Doug, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thanks, Julie. Take care.
Thanks, you too.